Teens actively protest prohibition because the legal drinking age was 18 prior to the prohibition. Protesting teens often related prohibition to communism or socialism. Protesters claim that there's a connection between communism and socialism and prohibition because the government is holding too strict regulations on what people can and can't do. Communism and socialism had a negative connotation in the US because Russia, the largest country to implement communism, was our enemy. Protesters also protested by drinking illegally. Duke Ellington began making jazz when he was 18. He would continue to perform jazz from 1923 until his death. Duke Ellington was a pioneer of jazz. People described him as having a royal vibe, which is why people began calling him the Duke. Duke Ellington would go on to make several jazz standards such as Jubilee Stomp and It Don't Mean a Thing. This album cover, The Chronological, stars Duke Ellington and his orchestra. The man on the album is Ellington himself. The hit songs on the album would later become jazz standards. Duke Ellington's Jubilee Stomp, produced in 1928, is a jazz standard. Jubilee Stomp implements the classic 2-5-1 chord progression. A 2-5-1 chord progression is when a song shifts from the second scale degree to the fifth scale degree and lastly to the first scale degree. Furthermore, Jubilee Stomp utilizes minor chords, which continue to influence jazz today. Ellington mastered swing, the elements that separated jazz from its classical predecessor. Swing comes from the elongated eighth note on the beat and the shortened eighth note on the "and" of the beat. Ragtime was the popular dance music before jazz was invented. Ragtime was popular among African American teenagers. Unlike jazz, ragtime was played without swing, or straight. Ragtime often followed a four-chord progression. The idea of a four-chord progression heavily influences hip-hop today. Ragtime was initially for African Americans and influenced by African American song produced by slaves during slavery. However, ragtime was later adapted to dance music. Regardless of how ragtime was changed, African Americans were the largest audience of the music. The Red Cross magazine cover was created in 1918 by Crosby. It features a woman with a baby angel around her arm. The woman is happy, holding red hearts. The caption explains that one should limit their family to one child. The reason Red Cross asks people to limit the amount of children families conceive is due to the Depression. No one has much money, and children are expensive. This magazine cover is meant to warn families of the economic strain children can put on families. This Henry Ford commercial displays the Ford 5-cylinder, 25-horsepower, 5-passenger touring car. In 1908, this car was on the brink of the newest technology. The car sold for $850. That was a fortune in 1908. This car was seen as one of the most extravagant, lavish cars back in 1908. The car differs from today's cars in several different ways. The wheels had wooden spokes, there are no turn signals, and there are no seat belts.